Hey everybody, Dave here for the Frugal Sportsman. Today on part 5 of our video series, I'm going to show you how I put together the work desk for our modules and also how I finish the cabinets and get them ready for install. So stick around. I'm going to be working on the desk portion of our Sportsman Center today, and this should finish up pretty much our construction portion, and then we can start installing. After that, we'll just have a little trim to do and some accessories like our rod rack and stuff. So let me just show you what I've done here. You should have a piece of plywood left over that is 23 3/4 inches, and we're going to utilize that. I put a 3/4 inch piece on the front here. And this can be any thickness you want. This is about 2 inches, 1.5 inches, and it can be a piece of scrap. This is going to be finished, but it's going to give some depth to our table and give it a little more stiffness. And what I've done is, as you can see here, I've used pocket screws to fasten that from the bottom so there's no fasteners on the front. My table happens to be 51 inches. My desk is in length, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add stiffeners on the back. These have to be cut to size, but they'll go across the back like this and pocket screwed in, and then I'll have some that go on the end like this, and I'm going to make this all one unit, so when I put it in I can just screw through these into the studs to support it. And then on the other end, it will be fastened to the tall modular cabinet to be supported on that end as well. So let me finish this up. I'm going to put these together, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. I'm also, for me, because I have a timber frame home, I do have to notch out this corner here. I've taken the measurements, and in order to clear the beam that sticks up, the vertical post, because it sticks out a little bit from the drywall, so I do have to notch that. The other thing is, if you wanted to get this exactly perfect, you might want to scribe it to the wall, and there's plenty of things on YouTube show you how to scribe a cabinet or build a template, but this is going to be my work area, and it's really going to be pretty close to being right on anyway. I'm not going to worry about it. If there's a slight gap, I can fill it in with a little trim or caulk, and but I'm not worried about it because I want it to be rustic as well. So anyway, let me put these support pieces on. I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll stain it up, and the next phase will be installing everything together. Okay, I've cut this piece down to fit flush on that end and flush on the notch on this end, and I'm going to get the first screw started in here. I want to make it flush with the back, and again, this is 51 inches because that fits my needs. But you can make it bigger or smaller, whatever would be better for you. Let me go to the other end, check it. Now my next piece I'm going to put on, and you always want to put the front piece on first before you do the back and the side pieces. I'll show you why. Is I've taken a piece here and I've cut a 45-degree on here. You can make this as bigger or come back or as close to the point as you want. I sort of just eyed it up, just cut a 45 in there, and the reason for that is when you view it from the front, it's going to ease on your eye. You won't have a square point to look at. It'll be much more aesthetically pleasing. And what I've done is I've measured from the notch here to the face. I'm going to place that in right like that, and then I'll fasten it with pocket screws from the inside. The one thing you want to do is just leave the slightest reveal along here. That way when you screw it tight, it'll pull everything together for you up tight. But if this overhangs, you'll have a gap on the other side. So let me start by running a screw, make sure it's up tight against that. on the screw here. Okay, this is what the underside of the table is going to look like, and let me show you what it looks like from the top. Now this has some stain spots on it and stuff. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to stain over all this. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, maybe hit it with some sandpaper. This happened to be a table I was using downstairs in my original hunting storage room, and so I thought I would just utilize this. But you'll have a new piece of plywood. Should have left over from your cuts to be able to make your top out of this as well. So let me just clean this up, and I'll give it a quick coat of stain and let you see what it looks like finished. And there's our tabletop, ready for installation. Nothing fancy, but again, I wanted a little rustic. You see I notched out that corner. You'll see where that goes later. But she's ready for install. Okay, with most of the cabinets done, I thought that what I would do is start staining these cabinets and get them ready for installation. I thought for me that the best route would be to use a stain, and I'm using a red oak Minwax stain. I like the color. Gunstock's also a very nice stain, but you don't have to stain these cabinets. If you prefer, you can paint them. Whatever works for you. Maybe use a Danish oil. Whatever it is you'd like to use. But you should protect them in some way. It'll do a couple of things. It'll bring color to the cabinet, and also it'll help stabilize them in winter and summer because the humidity won't change as quickly in the wood. So it's always good to seal them with something, even if it's just a stain. Let me show you about what it looks like in the back of the drawers and exactly how they work now that you see what it looks like from the front of this is a center cabinet. So let me show you what the drawers look like in the back and give you a better idea how they work. As you can see, the drawer runners slide in and out on the dados that we made. And so that gives you a better idea of how they work and how they function. And again, you don't see the screws because they're in the back or on the inside of the drawers. So let's open the drawer from the front and you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about. This way it gives you a nice clean look. See, you can see the screws on the far side of the drawer over there, but you really won't notice those otherwise. And they'll just run on the bottom drawer runners like that. So let's show you how I stain these. They're super easy to stain. I like stain because it goes really quick and it dries really fast. So let me show you quick how I do it. What I'm using to apply this stain is just a simple rag. This happens to be a terry cloth rag. It holds up real well, carries the stain real well, and it's super simple. I just fold it over like this and dip it in the stain a little bit and just apply it. Rubs on, goes on real quick, and again it dries really fast as well. I like to go with the grain. If you have some drops on it, make sure you get them right away so they don't dry before you blend them in. And it goes this quick. I take the drawers out because they're much easier to do outside the cabinet, and then they dry very quickly. You can put them back in. And it's that simple. Again, you can paint these. You can do whatever type of finish you would like. But again, I like this darker finish here. One of the other things I do is I like to use a brush in the dados, in the drawers, because it flows much better, and I'll lay the cabinet actually flat when I do it. Now the other thing is, on the big cabinets, I have these on horses, and I'm a fairly tall guy, so I can reach over and get inside and do everything and then just flip at one time. But if that's not the case, you can put it on something shorter, like a couple of cement blocks with some rags on top so it doesn't scratch it, and do it that way, work a little lower, and then just flip it. So I hope that helps you with your finish. And again, it's important that you get them finished so that it acclimates well during the seasons. So as I was saying, when I do the dados, I just take a brush and actually just flood those dados with stain. And the one thing I didn't say is if you want, after you stain it, if you're going to use stain, you can use like a polyurethane to really seal it up. I'm not going to go that route. I want just a more natural color without the shine. So I just do the dados in that way with the brush, and then I just rub the stain on the flat surfaces here to finish up. One thing I will tell you is make sure, no matter what, when you're done with your rags, that you do not just heap them up and throw them in a garbage can, because they can combust. You need to be very careful with stain, with especially linseed oil. Take your rags and either lay them out flat on your driveway to dry completely before you dispose of them, or what's even better is to put them in a metal can with some water and actually drown them out so that they can't ignite. So really that's a tip you really need to take to heart. Make sure you don't just fold them up and put them on a workbench someplace to be used later, or even between. If you're taking breaks from your staining, drape them over something like that so they can air dry completely and they're not building up oxygen and getting to a point where they can combust. So remember that tip. And so let's stain these up and I'll show you what it looks like complete. I like to use a brush to get in all the corners and anywhere there's a tight spot, and then I just use the rag for the larger areas. Rubber gloves is really going to save you time in cleanup. This stuff is really hard to get off your hands, so I recommend you use a rubber latex gloves, rubber gloves, whatever you have. Okay. And the best thing to do is always try and go with the grain. Sometimes you can't, but if you only have a small amount on the rag, you can see you can go against the grain and it'll blend in pretty good. Again, make sure when you're done that you dry out all your stuff before you throw it away. And again, I'd put it in some kind of metal container. Keep it outside the house even, so you don't have any issues with spontaneous combustion. You see how quick this goes on. You don't need a lot on the rag, and you can go pretty quick. So there you go. That's what it looks like. As I finish up this drawer, I want to remind you too, make sure that you number them very well. It'll save you a lot of time when you go back together, especially so if you're going to paint them, maybe just use some tape or something, because the paint will cover up the marker. Stain not so much. You can put it in an inconspicuous place like under the bottom of the drawer or something along that line, and that will help you when it comes time for assembly. And I just use the brush to get into tight spots. And I just go with the grain, just no streaks, no runs, and then I'll pick it up under here to stack it.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. I hope that video was helpful to you. And if it was, I'd really encourage you to take the time and just subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot more videos coming out that help you develop your passion as a sportsman. And while you're doing that, we'd encourage you also to hit that notification bell as well, so you'll be up to date on all the videos as soon as they come out. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. In our next series, next video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the final install for the cabinets, getting them up in place, and I'm going to show you step by step just how they go together. So stick around because you're not going to want to miss that one. Until then, thanks for watching and God bless.